protecting homes and businesses from the whims of nature, you need more than just quality materials. You require RiverLand Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, RiverLand Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence, but a tailored approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what RiverLand Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
You're locked into Talk of Champions, an Ole Miss podcast powered by RiverLand Roofing and featuring Ben Garrett and Billy Embody of Rebel Grove. Hello, friends. Welcome inside the RiverLand Roofing Studios, New Albany branch. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben on Twitter. RiverLand Roofing for all your roofing needs. 662-644-4297, riverlandroofing.com. About 2009, 2010, I started doing podcasting.
You did?
And my friend Steven Godfrey hits me up and says, hey, we should do a show. And thus was born a twice-a-week show he aptly named The Flagship. And now he rejoins me for a reunion of sorts, even though now he's Yahoo Sports. He's Washington Post. He's all over the place, is my guy Steven Godfrey. But I wanted to talk to him on this Friday before Ole Miss-Arkansas and a good week 3 slate of college football. Hey, friend.
Hey, buddy. Can you hear me? We had a embarrassing amount of tech problems before this started. Yeah.
I think that's just because we're old. We are old. I have never felt older than I do today.
Speak for yourself. Yeah, no.
How are you?
I'm good. Or what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Arkansas?
We're going to talk about some things. You've always been my big picture guy. We haven't talked in a while, but you've always been my big picture guy. And I've wanted to touch on a number of those topics too, but also Ole Miss, of course, because you covered Ole Miss a long, long time ago. You've been somebody that's been a part of the Ole Miss consciousness for a long time. You're not ancient, but it was a while now. And like we said, we're old.
I appreciate that.
First and foremost, I used to ask you this all the time. What are you working on right now, Steven Godfrey? What do you got going?
I got too much going. So I am a columnist for the Washington Post. I am a co-host for the Yahoo Sports College Football Inquirer. That is a mouthful of a title. I didn't name that show. And that is with Andy Staples and Ross Dellinger. And I also, as you can see my logo behind me, I have an entire series of podcasts that I write and co-host and make with my business partner, Ryan Nanny. That is Phantom Island. So I used to be on a show called Split Zone Duo. Before that, I was on a podcast named Played Nobody. So Phantom Island is a mixture of non-college football stuff as well as all the stuff I've become known for in my career. You can subscribe at phantomisland.show. It's also free. You can check them out, Phantom Island, on any podcast service in the world.
Well, the last time I talked to you, we both of our kids were pretty young, right?
They're not anymore.
They're not. My oldest is 13, and like you knew when she was born, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So like, how's the fam? How's life? Good. Are you hanging in there?
Fam and life are good. Hanging in there to be determined. My oldest just turned 11, so.
Ooh.
Yeah.
When it gets
I'm not on camera today, so I'm doing. So the Yahoo show is like TV basically. They have a television network now, and I'm in my studio, but I don't have the lights set up correctly, and I've got some emo hair, as you can tell. It's falling in my face so we tape that show 3 days a week, and me having to be camera ready is the biggest pain in my life right now. So you can see I'm just like I basically look like a homeless person on my day off. I paid $50 for this 1993 vintage Atlanta Falcons shirt. I found it on the internet. So I look like a divorced record store employee on the days that I'm not taping, and then I have to get all gussied and what such for the TV. And so now I'm just like, I look like a dirt bag when I'm not on camera.
I think the Falcon shirt is like perfectly Godfrey appropriate. I'd be disappointed.
I mean, I saw it and I was like, I gotta have that.
Yeah, I mean, if my guy had come up in here with like a suit on or something, I'd have thought, I don't know who this person is. I don't recognize this imposter.
No, this is a real. A certain old heads will remember the Apex line, which was before Nike had the NFL contract. This is an Apex T-shirt from 1993. I found it on the internet. Had to have it. Anyway, yeah. So Friday's sort of my day off, but I don't really have one in college football season. So,
Really?
Yeah.
You said yes to your old friend Ben on your day off. Thanks, man.
I mean, I
You
was
shouldn't
in
have
the
done that.
I was in the office working on a Phantom Island show, so it wasn't like it's just the day I don't work as much. I have no days off. So
He fit me. He
um,
fit me in. He fit me into his busy schedule.
I'm a kind person.
Well, thank you, friend.
Also constantly promoting things. Go find the Yahoo network. Go to phantomisland.show. I mean, the post is like, they don't really need you to subscribe, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they do.
But what I'm saying is, like, look at what all you helped create. Look at it. Look at us here. Look at this. Like, and like your young Padawan has been doing this for almost 20 years now. I'm just saying, it's a nice little reunion time, flagship friend. I want to start go nail it.
No, I was gonna
Make
say,
me feel good.
When I was before I got my first national job, is that right? Yeah, we had I would co-host a show on the Rebel Sports Radio. What was it called?
Rebel Sports Radio, V Sporto, long ago.
V
Brian
Sport Radio,
Haydad just
shout
felt
out.
a shiver go down his spine.
Okay, I did that with you.
Mm-hmm.
I named it the flagship because I was like, oh, well, you want something that would be infuriating for the other side, so of course they hated that. And then, but we used to podcast. It was so far back in the day that we didn't. This is going to sound crazy if you're in digital media. We couldn't see each other. So I was in Nashville and you were in New Albany, and we would just do it over like a program where we could just see each other's voice, like the little audible lines. But that was it. And now look at us. Everything's on video now, so you get to see how tired I am.
You look regal. Chiseled
look
jaw.
like I'm in my 40s.
Then there's old Ginger Shrek with his shitty Braves cap on and a hoodie when it's hot. I'm just saying.
I take umbrage with you have fallen into a trap that many Braves fans have, which is that you have fallen back in love with the pre-90s look. And I will only forever associate that, the lowercase a and the like 70s, 80s, the Screamin' Wahoo, all that. Like those teams were so bad that I don't want any part of that. So I have my wife has put me on like a pitch count, if you will. I have 11 Braves hats, and
it's about right. It's good. It's a good number.
It's like one. Yeah, it's like one in, one out. But all 11 are the script A. I guess that technically is a script A, but you know what I mean. The capital A. The if you would associate the world with like the 91 breakout and on, is where I think we should focus our energy.
Which
personal belief of mine.
Which I agree with. It's very old men yelling at cloud. Because for me, I got this one because, buddy, your boy doesn't look great in hats. Okay, so I just tried on a bunch of one. Oh, this kind of works. Then I went, oh well, the Hank Aaron. That's what I see here. I see a Hank Aaron A. All right, okay, that's what I see.
That's fine. I see.
Also, I don't have a lot to latch on to sports wise anymore. All right,
Jesus.
Like I haven't even really watched the Braves in months, Godfrey. Like they're so bad.
I bailed out. I was talking to my dad about this on the phone. There was this when we got back from the All-Star break. I was like, "Oh, we're 8 out of the wild card. Like crazier things have happened." And
see, you and I changed that. We talked about that.
Was that? What do you mean? We got swept by somebody, and I was like, just like, "No, I'm done."
Because when the Braves almost said when the Braves won their title in 2021, it was like freeing for me. I got to see the thing I wanted to see.
You're
you know what I mean,
now, Jeannie?
Yeah.
Well, how old were you in '95?
9.
That's good enough. Don't get picky.
But the thing is, it's like
14.
when you become old and like, but it's a different fandom now. You know that. You know what I mean? Yes. Like the appreciation you have for it and the longing you have for it. So when I got it, it was like, it is done. I have, I saw the thing. And it's like the end of Soul, that Disney Pixar movie. It's like, all right, what do we do now? Will we come back tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, talk about lack of payoff. You know what I mean? It's like
if you want a professional industry transition, this is basically how I feel about my alma mater. So I am not an Ole Miss fan, and certain people in the base really take umbrage with that. Like, how could you? I went through the ringer. Not the publication, the metaphorical ringer. After I made a documentary called Foul Play, and I did, when you investigate your alma mater, and you got to deal with some people at your alma mater, most of whom aren't there anymore. I would say almost all, except for a few, who are deceitful human beings and kind of preyed upon my alumni status, and as well as some of those who aren't with us anymore, like to push out stuff during the freeze era. like I really was like, all right, I mean, I'd really prided myself. I wanted to be this objective national journalist. I wanted to tell this honest story about how recruiting really works, and it kept pulling me back to my alma mater. It was that whole saga was like a good opportunity for me to wipe my hands completely. And I've never really, there's a lot of aspects of Ole Miss I never jibed with, even when I was a student and I was going to the games and I was cheering for the team. But I have your stance on the Braves is my stance on my alma mater, which is that I don't care if you win or lose. What I care about is you not embarrass me. And so, like, all I want right now is, like, just don't embarrass me. So, like, the Braves this year, right, they're pretty embarrassing. This should not have happened, okay?
No.
So I'm watching, like, my 6 games I got to talk about on the show the next day, last Saturday, and I've got an eye on the Kentucky Ole Miss game. And so, like, that's an example of where the outcome to me, I'm indifferent. But if you do something astronomically stupid on the field, which and I'm going to get to a point here, it hasn't happened in a minute, or you do something, which is usually Ole Miss's case, you do something astronomically stupid off the field, that's when I kind of roll my eyes and I start to get, like, emotionally invested. So all I really want is to just, it's like, you know, you just don't want your relatives to embarrass you. And that's kind of how I feel about my alma mater. I will be positive and say that in the last, I don't know, Ben, you'd probably be better positioned to put a date on this. Let's just say like 5 years.
7.
It's 2025, 7. Okay.
Yeah. 7-ish.
The University of Mississippi's football pursuit has been probably at its most efficient and least embarrassing in all of the time that I've ever been paying attention. And I want to be clear. I'm not just talking about like, oh, they've won more games, but I do think that like they tend to not say, hey, everybody, and they pull a pistol out and shoot their big toe off. We don't have mascot controversies anymore. We don't have, well, I shouldn't say that. Like that is literally begging the horror movie villain to return. We've had fewer incidents where like some frat boy makes national news for being racist. I said fewer. I didn't say none. So things are getting better, it looks like. I think the brand is changing. I think like the nationalization of SEC undergraduate cultures has helped Ole Miss in that like it's not a campus where like 70 to 80% of the people are from like the same 25 counties in Mississippi and or like Memphis, New Orleans. Like I think you have a more diverse campus in terms of background, not just like by race or gender or creed or something like that. So I think all these things are working in Ole Miss's favor. I also think that kind of our generation, and I'm weird because I was born the year that they cut off Gen X from millennials, so I'm not really one or the other. But the doings behind the scenes, maybe you'll agree with this, maybe you won't. I think that there's a more competent booster class now.
I agree.
In this generation of like dirt doers, and also, hey, as we know, it's not illegal to pay players anymore. A big advantage for Ole Miss because they were always paying players. So like now you can actually like pay a market value and you can be organized about it. So, I do feel like in the aggregate, Ole Miss is not embarrassing the way it used to be.
I think we celebrate progress. Good. I think we celebrate. We don't say, "Oh, they're just not embarrassing me anymore." Because, like at the end of the day, I was reading Godfrey columns when I became a student, and Ethan Flatt and Ole Miss lost to Wyoming. Okay, so
I was there, dog.
I know. I was reading your column. There's scar tissue for you, friend. So you can say, "Hey, man, they don't embarrass me anymore," or this, that, and the other. But also, you can just say, it's okay to just celebrate progress, and it's a part of your story. And to say that Ole Miss is at a place it's never been before, and we can acknowledge that is more than fair to say. Because
but it's also like a trigger warning where like I'm constantly in wait. I'm constantly like, oh, they're about to blank this up. They're about to like.
Well, that's the Braves fandom for you. That's the
I grew up cheering for Atlanta sports. So
and also your formative journalism and college years were spent at Ole Miss, right?
Yeah,
so of course,
remember the Rowdy Rebel crisis? Remember like the Black Confederate soldier protests? Like all that kind of stuff. So I have remarked to like other business associates and people that I know who are I've lived in Nashville for going on 20 years, and I have remarked to non-Mississippi, non-Ole Miss people just saying like, yeah, like they've kind of calmed down, it feels like. And then on top of calming down, this is kind of where I would kick it back to you, because like I
Okay.
obviously know what I see on the football field, and I talk to coaches and I do my job, but like it just seems like this weird prolonged arranged marriage thing with Kiffin has forced, like, Kiffin's a lot, no doubt. And I hear about it more, again, in the national space. But I still have a couple eyes and a couple of years in Oxford. Not as many as you. But I think that he has forced those around him to rise to occasions. And I do think that some of the people who have left around the program and around the university, what is it called? The Ewing theory of like addition by subtraction. I think the people making decisions at Ole Miss are better than they were, and I think that he has forced people to kind of get it together in a way that maybe we didn't do that back in the olden days of the 2000s. I don't know if you would agree or not. You would? Okay,
I would
okay.
agree. I would say that reputation, that deranged reputation, it's not applicable to Lane anymore. What has happened, like, he's the perfect kind of coach for Ole Miss in this new college football world of complete corporate structure, right?
Yeah,
A lot of what's
yeah.
so, like, for him, he can be a ruthless, the hard decision-making CEO, and he'll say it. It's not personal. It's business. It was always business, but never has it been more laid bare than in the year 2025. The year of our Lord,
Yeah.
2025, 26. It's obvious that what was our favorite thing, coming up, growing up, just my team versus yours and all that kind of stuff. A lot of that, some of it at least, has been lost, the spirit of the thing. But what it's done is elevated an Ole Miss that you're telling Ole Miss all it's ever had to do to really win is have money. Well, Ole Miss is the Mississippi School of Doctors and Lawyers.
Yeah,
So,
they
of
had the
course.
money. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
now you're giving them an avenue to just say, oh, all things equal. Like you say, Ole Miss was always paying. Well, hell, so was State. So was even, of course, LSU and Alabama and Georgia and all those schools were paying. But it was the select. You and I have talked about NCAA stuff for so long
yeah.
that, like,
Just a bit.
it's the selective enforcement and the comedy of a power structure that was just trying to desperately hold on to what it had has finally been exposed as the farce that it was. And so the Ole Misses of the world that did get more selective treatment than certainly Alabama or any other schools that were also doing the same things can now just put its nuts on the table and say, yeah, we're paying, we can pay above market value to go get this player, or we've got a great financial structure for all this stuff. So I think celebrating progress, Steven Godfrey, who went to Ole Miss, it's okay to say, you know what? Good on my alma mater. It doesn't have to just be about the embarrassing stuff, the old stuff. Now that you've come back and made a return trip, I want to hear Steven Godfrey say, you know what? I feel pretty good about it today. You know what I mean? I'm not running from it today.
I think that, look, I still have issues with the place.
Of course.
I don't trust any Ole Miss alumni who has total love for Ole Miss. Period. I don't trust people. I just don't. I don't.
I guess that's in any walk of life too, though.
We're deeply, if you can't recognize the contrast of intense beauty, deep conflict in a place like Oxford, Mississippi, then I don't value your opinion. Full stop. But I'll probably always feel that way, and the alumni that I've always modeled myself after have felt the same way. There's a statue of a guy, and his words were, pretty sure they're still up in the library, talking about how you understand the world, you must first understand a place like Mississippi. So I know I'm not alone, but to take it out of the sort of extra serious identity part of it, it has just been nice to not have like oh God, what did they do now? Did they puke on themselves in public, so to speak? So in the football part, there's still issues. Kiffin's good for one just inexplicable loss a year, and that will never change. So if you're, I don't think you're listening to this if you're a Florida fan, but I do tell people that all the time. Like, you kind of know what he is at this phase of his career. And while he is a savant a true savant in certain aspects of coaching, and he is exceptionally good in other places, you are good for one just absolutely inexplicable moment a year. Last year it was Kentucky, right? He had it when he was at USC. He had it when he was at Tennessee. Like it's not. This is a signature feature of Kiffin, but that alone does not mean he shouldn't have the job or he isn't one of the best coaches in modern history. I don't think anybody would look backwards and say, "Oh, I still wish we had X coaching here," right? But I don't think this is a playoff team this year. I think it was a playoff team last year. And I did think it was just sort of a particular kind of brutal the way that they lost the Kentucky and Florida games. So it does for all the change that we've talked about, it does still feel like a program that became competent enough to be the best of the have-nots in the league. And I know that there are people our age who are pushing to change that. And I would believe in them more than I would believe in the people who came before them. I would believe in the people who are our age, in their late 30s, early 40s, who want Ole Miss to mean something different, to go ahead and enact that change both on the field and off. So I feel pretty. I'm very interested to see when those people, as we get older, Ben, like our generation and those below us, I do think they have a very, very different idea of what this thing can be and where its ceiling's at, and also what their priorities are. I think you would be hard-pressed now to find the check writers or the dirt doers or whatever you want to call them getting hung up in the same way about a mascot or a song from here on out. I think they want to win football games, full stop. And I think they want to prove that they have the same relevance as the programs who are above them with national championships in this conference. And that I couldn't say, you know this better than anybody. Like, 10 to 20 years ago, I think Ole Miss was defined by people who just wanted to feel important at Ole Miss and would cut their nose off to spite their face.
I agree.
If it meant losing control here, even if that was for the betterment of the program, they didn't care. That day is gone for sure.
That was well said. That was more, that's as uplifting as Mr. Steven Godfrey gets.
About my alma mater, definitely.
I mean, but hey, listen, man, I see a little bit, I see a little bit of a softening from you, which is good,
Well, they do a lot of good things now. They do a lot of smart things. I think the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss is a better defensive coordinator at Ole Miss than he was at Alabama, winning national titles.
It's true.
I think that.
You want my hot take on Pete Golding?
What's that?
Here's my hot take. This is what I used to do to you.
Man needs a beard trimmer?
First of all, as someone who can't grow a beard, I'm 39 years young. Okay, I get prepubescent mustaches. All of y'all are I'm living vicariously through all of y'all. So don't tell that man how to live. Yeah, I grow that thing out like a ZZ Top beard. But also, I'm not sure Pete Golding wouldn't be Ole Miss's Kirby Smart. Look at that take. Scorching. It's hot. Don't touch it.
In which way?
I don't know, but it just kind of fits for me. As in, like, culturally and what he could do. But for bottom line, you brought up the Lane Kiffin stuff. All right. It's already started. My guy Pete Nico's at 0-3. He's already put it out there. Every single year, big job comes open. The first name everybody mentions is Lane Kiffin.
Yep.
Tell me why Florida is different or why it's just more of the same. And at the end of it, he'll get an extension and stay at Ole Miss again. Because, again, no one expected or predicted 6 years.
You know what? That's a good point. I think that's a good place to start the conversation too. Lane Kiffin would be an improvement over Billy Napier. Lane Kiffin would also provide Florida things that it hasn't had in a while and things that it feels necessary to its identity. And Lane Kiffin would also be an albatross ultimately for Florida. I think he'd be a better hire than the previous two for Florida, but Lane Kiffin is not what they want ultimately. I don't know if Lane Kiffin at Florida is if you're unlocking 2 national championships. Would he go? Maybe. Is it a better job than Auburn? Yes. What are the other jobs where he's done this, James?
LSU.
I don't know if that
was
ever serious.
I don't think that was ever serious either. Auburn.
I think Lane and his people wanted it to be serious. Auburn is really the one. To go back for a second and talk about why this program is different. 1997-8, Tommy Tuberville leaves Oxford for Auburn. 2018, or 19 or no, 2022. I don't know. Years are all Lane Kiffin does not leave Oxford for Auburn. That's about as absolute of a measurement or a metric as you could get, right?
Mm-hmm.
One highly sought after coach said Auburn is definitively empirically a better place, and then the other one said these are about the same, and I like it here. That is massive progress. If you can't recognize that, I can't help you. So that alone, I think, is huge. Yeah, I think he would definitely have the conversation with him for sure. I don't know if he's what they want ultimately with like he is. The reason why it's such a great marriage in Oxford is that the eccentricities of both Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss kind of just match up. I'm not saying that they're destined to win a national title together. I'm just saying that like the shortcomings and the strengths just sort of fit, like they groove together. And I just don't know if that would be the case at Florida. It would really be a test of how much he's calmed down and how much he's willing to play ball and how good old boy he wants to get. Ben, you know this. Like the Lane Kiffin that got to Oxford, maybe not so much the 2025 Lane Kiffin, but the one who got to Oxford, he needed a Jeff Lebby to go and do some of the more tried and true head coach responsibilities in the backslapping and handshaking part of the job. Lebby was good at spelling him at doing that. I think Pete probably does the same. You can't do that at Florida. Period. I don't know
if it can't be lost either that, and it's quite important. First of all, a couple of things. One, I think the days of that kind of headline grabbing coach movement, you're not seeing it like you used to, right? I mean, Brian Kelly going to LSU was a big deal. That was a big deal for Notre Dame.
That 21 cycle was unlike anything we'll ever see again because there's six schools: Notre Dame, LSU, Oregon, Miami, Oklahoma, and Southern California, where that shift of leaving a helmet school for a helmet school, like you're right, we haven't seen that. I do think that I'm not saying it can't happen again, but yeah, that was unlike anything.
And like now at Ole Miss with his quite literally for the first time since maybe ever. I know Knox Kiffin sat down with me last week because he's doing a podcast for this Mudcat Media thing I'm doing, helping out with, and Knox was like, we got the whole family together, and I thought we'd see it together, like mom, dad, sisters, only Presley's at USC, and Chris and his entire family. He has a complete autonomy with his program. There are family considerations. The money it's not like, Ole Miss is paying, $9 million for a coach, like Florida would too. If the money is equal and like they'll build a statue for him here, the old things of, well, it's Florida and that's Ole Miss, those days are dead, completely and utterly dead, because this is the era of parity in college football where everyone can have a stake. And honestly, as far as a national brand, Ole Miss had the number 4.9 million people tune into Kentucky last week. Now, I know it wasn't a ton on at the same time, but you're talking about a national brand. And while it's not the national brand of some other ones, certainly, Alabama doesn't look like the big giant Goliath in the room anymore. If Ole Miss was playing Alabama this week, you'd say, oh, yeah, that's probably a pick 'em. You know what I mean? Or whatever it might be. There are no dominant teams. Anybody can win. And so if you can get a situation, and it's not just like this for Lane at Ole Miss, but Clemson with Dabo, where you can go through the ups and downs. He can go 8-4 at Clemson because Dabo, that is his program. That all the it's a job security and a situation that is very, very hard to leave. But I think the old feelings are still dying hard, especially from a national perspective. Like I love my guy Pete Nikos at On 3. I do. He's a good dude. But it's lazy to bring up Lane Kiffin in Florida. Yeah, old days, the boat Lane Kiffin coming from FAU and that's different than the dude now who's reconciled with his wife. You
sound very confident.
I do. I think it's lazy because we get stuck in our old ways of doing things. However, if there's one job that I think could really at least make him go, well, that's interesting, it'd be Florida.
Yeah, definitely.
But in terms of how, what he has built Ole Miss into and the way he's insulated himself and protected himself personally and professionally, It's a very unique situation that only a few coaches in college football have. Kalen DeBoer does not have it at Alabama. Ryan Day doesn't even have it at Ohio State, for goodness sake. Thank goodness he won a national championship, because now it's different, right? So I just think the conversation's a little different than it ever has been. And, since I'm not a national media type, you with Yahoo and Washington, the Washington Post and all that stuff, just let the people know, around at Ole Miss. It's a very unique situation Lane Kiffin has. You're going to have to really you're going to have to give some concessions you otherwise wouldn't have thought to give, just to get him to consider you now. So it's just a different thing. All right. Ole Miss-Arkansas week. I wanted to dip into specifically your old Rolodex or notes from your Ole Miss-Arkansas life. Tell me an Arkansas story, because my favorite, I was asked this on the board at Rebel Grove, rebelgrove.com, on 3, sign up for $1. I was asked about this, my favorite Arkansas memory. And even though Ole Miss lost, it was 7 overtimes. It was Eli and Arkansas. Give me your Arkansas Ole Miss, because no one really truly appreciates, at least I think on a national level, quite enough, how wacky the series has been for most all of eternity.
What about your old boss, Chuck Rounsaville, getting into it in Fayetteville?
Yeah.
What year was that? It was the first Houston Nut year?
2008. Yeah.
Okay.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't at that game. But dude. Oh man, there are so many inexplicably bizarre outcomes in this series.
And what happened with Chuck is after that game, it was crazy for Houston Nut going back to Arkansas.
Photographer that got into a fight with Chuck or something?
Started talking that noise, and old Bahelia came out of our guy. He's like, well, I'll whoop your ass.
I was about to say, you got to watch out. You got to watch out, the North Mississippi boys.
I'm saying.
All right. If I were to go back to kind of my time as a student on, everybody talks about 7 overtimes in 01. I was there for that. It was exhausting. Walked to a bar on the square afterwards, and when everyone was just sort of just physically exhausting is how I would sort of describe that. Also, any booze you used to smuggle in as a student, or if you had one in the old Vot Club, you were out of. Everybody was sober at the end of that, bone sober, and that's a whiskey drinking stadium culture. Obviously, I don't need to tell you all that, but daytime fireworks is another favorite of mine.
That was your Arkansas.
We need to describe. Are we so old? Do we need to describe daytime fireworks?
Yeah, because David Brandt actually did a podcast for me for, I think, V Sporto, that we talked about it, called Daytime Fireworks.
Called Daytime Fireworks.
No one would get that reference now, I don't think. But Daytime Fireworks, that happened.
That was 07, right?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so Daytime Fireworks is when the old administration decided to kick off a fundraising campaign. They set off fireworks in the daytime. For a JP slotted game. So Jefferson Pilot, I have to explain everything to the youth. So they set the fireworks off and blow a transistor in the area. So the scoreboard goes out and the stadium PA goes out and a bunch of power, some of the power in the facility goes out of the old Fod Hemingway before it was totally bowled in for the rest of the game. And meanwhile, Arkansas is just humiliating Ole Miss. I pulled it up. Final score was 44-8. So daytime fireworks, that became a thing. The next year, that's the fight or just the madness in Fayetteville. When Houston Nut won that game, getting out of there, that was extra spicy.
Throwing rocks and batteries and it was crazy. And Chuck Ronsville almost went to jail. I think Michael Orr saved Chuck from going to jail. I think that's true.
The last time I could remember. So at this point, I'm not at Vox. I'm not back in the national media yet. This may have been the wrestling days. 2009. You want to talk about a memory bin? I drove down from Nashville, and I met my dad, and we bought scalp tickets, except we went around and we looked for scalpers that had Arkansas benchside tickets. Do you know why? I wore head-to-toe Atlanta Falcons gear. And we were 13 to 15 rows behind Bobby Petrino.
Of course.
What am I allowed to say on this program?
Whatever you want to say.
Ben, I motherfucked him at the top of my lungs for 3.5 hours, and then I had to work the next day. I think I was working in television because I remember having to fly out that night to go somewhere. So I got up at 5 in the morning. I drove from Nashville to Oxford. It's 3 hours, 3.5. Okay. I had on a Falcons hat and a Falcons t-shirt. My dad did too. My dad's a huge Ole Miss fan. Sidewalk alumni because his kids went there. And this is before I'd gone back in the national media, and I motherfucked him as loud as I could. This is like the peak McCluster season, right?
Yeah.
Second Cotton Bowl under Houston Nutt.
50 years.
50 years, Neil.
50.
We stayed on his ass, and like I have a pretty strong voice. I'm a large human being. I can put my chest into it.
Can confirm.
I say with satisfaction that he heard me, and that was a 30-17 win. So that was delightful.
And now he's the offensive coordinator again at Arkansas. Or he was the head coach then, but now he's back with Taylon Green. You know,
I have no memory of like the next couple of years. Specifically, the one that stands out to me as a national writer was an otherwise big year for Ole Miss. 14 is like the Freeze breakout year. And then they go into Fayetteville, and Brett Bielema holds them down and just absolutely beats them to death with an incredibly simple run game. And there were a ton of turnovers in that game. That was one of the kind of Bo Wallace specials. I don't really remember the OT game the following year in Oxford. Why am I blanking out on that? Oh, that's that's the fourth down and forever, isn't it? Yeah.
Is that 4th and 25?
I think so.
Hayden Hurst. Was that Hayden Hurst?
By the way, I just want to say this, guys. This isn't because I'm an alumnus that I'm able to do this. I'm saying this rivalry specifically has such an incredibly weird tapestry.
Yes.
2016, I don't remember at all. 34-30, Arkansas wins in Fayetteville. I don't remember that at all. 17, I don't remember. It's a 1-point Arkansas win in Oxford. I'm just being honest. Some of these, I guess, I should remember. We're in Matt Luke country now, right? There's 2 Ole Miss wins in 18 and 19. What was going on? Oh, these are the Chad Morris era. These are just two bad teams playing each other. Okay.
Really bad. I think kind of fun though. I think one of those was a back and forth affair that turned out to be a pretty fun game on that Saturday.
Yes. The next one that I have a memory of, and I guess this isn't controversial, it was just really fun football, was I was in Lexington for the LSU Kentucky game. Will Levis was the quarterback at Kentucky. I think this is the year that O gets fired. And that morning, I was in Lexington for that. I remember being in the hotel watching the 52-51 Ole Miss win against, the Arkansas quarterback, KJ Jefferson.
KJ Jefferson.
Kid was
North
built like
Manola.
a left tackle playing quarterback.
From Batesville, Mississippi. Phil Longo didn't want to have anything to do with him.
Oh, man. So many Phil Longo stories to tell.
Chasing grass.
22, no memory whatsoever. And then
you remember Pete Willie chasing down Darren McFadden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, I have no memory of 22 or 23, and I only have the vague memory last year of Ole Miss running the score up.
Yeah, last year was an absolute, it was a butt whooping.
27-20 in Oxford, I have no memory of. But again, when you're doing this nationally, I have watched 3 or 4 Ole Miss games in the last 2 years, just because my Saturdays are like it's a 6. I try and prioritize 6 games a block. So Georgia's happening last year for Ole Miss. Saw that. Tuned in to see the Kentucky ending last year, and then watched the whole Florida game last year. I don't know if that makes me good or bad luck. It's just what I'm doing, depending on what I'm doing or what I'm assigned or that kind of stuff. It's not a preference per se. So I watched 2 quarters the last week. Who is the kid from Ferris State?
Trinidad Chambliss.
Fun little fun.
Good,
I love an
good
FCS
football name.
story.
Good
or
football
D2,
name.
not even FCS story. D2's yeah. Just zippy that little guy.
Well, Austin is off the injury report.
Oh,
Still,
okay, cool.
It's an ankle injury.
Okay.
He's been in a
on
boot
the
all
Yahoo
week.
show. I said he was on it, so great, good.
Practiced yesterday.
Yeah,
was off the injury report today. Luke Haas, Arkansas transfer tight end, who has been out since July with a fractured ankle. He could be making his season and Ole Miss debut. I think at this point expected to Saturday against those Arkansas Razorbacks coming into town to Oxford, Mississippi with Taylon Green. Who do you think wins this game? And I feel like it's of critical importance. If Ole Miss really wants to be, I know you said you don't think they're making the playoff this year, but if they do want to be one of those teams with an advantageous schedule, certainly you got to beat Arkansas.
This is in terms of the P4 games tomorrow. And I'm not trying to chicken out necessarily. It's just I think this is one of the closest games of the entire slate, with the only closer game is Clemson, Georgia Tech, in my opinion.
I picked Georgia Tech to get him, man. I love Hayes King. He's just
dude,
a dog.
he's so fun.
Competes, man.
Such a great reclamation story for a program there. So I can flip a coin and argue either side of this. I don't think, maybe you'd be more qualified to say this. This game should not be taken lightly in Oxford. This is not the team you've beat the last 2 years. They are incrementally better. Ole Miss is still the more talented team, for sure. But I don't necessarily think that this is the team that lost the blowout. This is a better team than the one that was blown out last year.
Talon left that game last year. I mean, I don't think you really got a full, kind of breakdown of what you're going to be facing this weekend.
Now, granted, like throw out the first week against a SWAC school. They did whatever they wanted to against an undersized Arkansas State team. They obviously have not. This is why it's so hard to prognosticate in September. This is why gambling is so wonky in college sports in the first month. They just have not seen anything like this yet. Whereas Ole Miss has come out of what I thought was like a really physical game against Kentucky. It's weird because like Stoops has a lot of faults, but he schemes Lane pretty well.
That's exactly what I've been saying, man. Mark Stoops' defenses against Lane Kiffin's offenses, it doesn't matter. Like those two, like Stoops knows how to scheme against Lane.
He does not fall for some of the cuter shit that like they like to do. So especially some of the horizontal running. Like they will put a hat on a hat with that kind of stuff and they'll have it gapped up correctly. But this is this should be an Ole Miss win. Talent on talent. But health of the quarterback and turnovers. That's it.
All right.
I didn't see any of Georgia State.
Sure.
Simmons what level of consistency do you have with a young quarterback? What level?
Yeah.
Like, are we brain farting? Like, I really do like the improvement in what's his name? I like the improvement in Arkansas's defense, the secondary too, and the Travis, their DC. I'll look it up real fast. There are pieces of this where I can see. I'll put it this way: I can see a bad day happening for Ole Miss if it's a confused Simmons and/or he's not as healthy as we've been told. But do you push him? By the way, I guess you're gonna have to have him out there.
Well, you do, but I think with Trinidad taking the majority of the first team, Travis Williams. Sorry. I was sitting there thinking for you. I felt bad because I was like, that's where you're supposed to come in as the host and say, hey.
No, as a national guy, I'm like,
son of a gun.
People are always like, you didn't know that? And I'm like, dude, I just did 10 minutes on
It's a lot. It's a lot of names, man.
Yeah, it's 130. It's 136 teams.
And every single team every year is like got 60 new players. But no, I think Trinidad Chambliss, from a running component, could actually add a lot to Ole Miss this weekend, especially if Austin is limited. I think Ole Miss. I think I picked Ole Miss, and it was to win the game in like a one touchdown, one score game. I think it's going to be really competitive. But I didn't mean to keep you this long. I want to knock out some really quick things. Fast track it. Make it Godfrey in a minute if you want to. I got a couple of big picture items that Ben, the local Ginger Shrek at Ole Miss, doesn't know dick about. So here we go. Okay, the 9-game SEC schedule. The Godfrey takeaway is what?
Good. Fine with
it. Good.
Am I doing a rapid fire? Or
yes, rapid fire. Give me like give me like drop the knowledge and tell it to me in like a condensed manner. Give it to me.
Good, and I'm glad they made the decision, even though they felt like they were left out of the playoff too much last year. Talking about the SEC, even though I think that I think the playoff selection was correct last year, and the SEC's middle class was suspiciously weak, and they got in their feelings about it. Like everyone talked about, South Carolina lost their bowl game to Illinois. It was a better team. Illinois could have probably made a better argument to get in, and then Alabama, come on. So all right, keep going.
I mean, Ole Miss was 9-3 and beat South Carolina 27-3, and I was actually glad to see that the selection committee put them ahead of South Carolina when everyone was kind of pushing from a national perspective. Yeah. Look at what South Carolina did against Clemson. Clemson sucked. All right, here we go. The one transfer portal window that is proposed and will be voted on instead of the two in the winter and the spring, which has caused so much calamity and confusion. Lane said, it's a broken system. He said it over and over again, but he does think one window would help for you. Do you think one window is the right step?
I
think
think
it
one
gets passed?
window. I'm learning more about it from the various perspectives. I think I like it. I think as long as there's still enough agency amongst the athletes where they're not getting trapped by staff changes, then I think I'm okay with it.
Do you think it gets passed?
Probably.
We can never
Not
guess this
confident.
thing.
Yeah, that part is harder to guess.
Yeah, the bureaucracy, my friends, if
Right.
college football is the biggest thing. And then the last thing, if you had to put a score prediction for Ole Miss football in 2025-26, or not, excuse me, a score prediction, but record prediction and where they finish, I've seen wide range of outcomes, and a lot of it is determined by Austin Simmons and his development, and these slow starts have been troubling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But let's say Austin Simmons clicks in. What's Ole Miss's ceiling and floor to you?
I got to look at the schedule to do it.
It's very advantageous. You don't get Alabama or Texas.
I have Phil in front of me. You know what? Not getting Alabama this year, I think, is actually going to end up being sad for Ole Miss, because I think this is a team that Lane could really screw with. And Lane, I don't think Lane has anything against Kalen DeBoer. Why would he? But I do think he is. I think he is sort of genuinely protective of Saban for a lot of weird daddy reasons. And I think smacking down his successor and showing how great Nick, I think he would have enjoyed it. All right, real fast. So you're 2-0. You got Arkansas this weekend. Let's say they escape. I'm going to give you a best case scenario. I think that Ole Miss is definitely losing one of the next 3 games, Arkansas, Tulane, or LSU. I think LSU is probably the likeliest candidate. I think Tulane might be a better team than Arkansas, so you should watch out if you're 3-0. I think the exact same standard applies, and I really think they're on upset watch next week if they're 3-0. Let's just say they have 1 loss coming out of that, so we'll just count the losses. I'm going to be in attendance for Washington State. I have not been to Oxford in 6 or 7 years.
Let's go.
One of my long time friends in this industry, he was my editor for a while, is a Wazoo grad, and he and some other buddies of mine have. So I'm going. I'm the only person who knows anything about Oxford, who's ever been to Oxford. So I'm going with a group.
Very different now, though, Godfrey.
Dude, I don't even want to get into it. Georgia. Right now, Georgia or Oklahoma is a loss. I am down on Georgia and up on Oklahoma at the moment, so let's just say they split that, so that's a guaranteed second loss. And then between South Carolina, Citadel, Florida is a loss, and then I think they so there's 3 losses entering the Egg Bowl.
In Starkville. Shenanigans could ensue.
There was so much. I was like, like watching the fourth quarter against Arizona State, I was like, you and I, like, you know, you covered Lebby when he was in Oxford. They were worse than they should have been last year, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't build what they're building now. And like you kind of see it. You kind of see what Lebby wants to do, and like he also understands how to play villain, coming from Baylor and the Art Briles stuff and all that. He needs to keep his father-in-law off the F off the field, though. I don't think he will.
No.
3 losses.
As someone with a father-in-law, and you know how this too. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I get it.
3 losses entering the Egg Bowl is the best case scenario, in my opinion.
So 9-3,
or
assuming they win the Egg Bowl, or
8-4.
It's kind of what everybody's been saying. If you beat Arkansas, if you get to 5-1 going into Oklahoma, then you're talking about maybe being able to build.
Get into Oklahoma.
Or was it Georgia? I can't remember which one it was. Got 5-1. The loss to LSU. Like I'm counting LSU as a loss, but here's the thing: like LSU.
So it'd be 5-1 Wazoo, and then so you'd be like 6-1. You think going into Georgia?
Yeah, but I predict them to lose to Oklahoma, LSU, and I can't remember the other one I picked. Probably Georgia.
You'll get into the body blow theory with Georgia, Oklahoma a little bit, just because it's a lot in 7 days. And then you have South Carolina at home. I don't know how I feel about South Carolina yet. I mean, look, if quarterback play cannot continue to build, this thing also falls apart. And we're looking, I think, like we're talking about a team with potentially 6, if not 7 losses. But that is not unique to Ole Miss. I can say the same thing right now. If Lenore Sellers gets banged up, there's a precipitous drop. If John Mateer's not protected, Oklahoma's not that good. Like, I can say that about 6 of these mid-range SEC teams right now.
It's the new culture of college football.
I also am not as sold on LSU yet.
They didn't look at there was nothing that like jumped out at you last week against La Tech.
I think that
Nothing.
we're
You're
in
like,
for. I think we're in for a season very similar to last year, which is that you won't have a dominant brand that just is crushing everyone. Texas is still the most talented team, but they have problems. So I think you're going to end up with sort of this kind of random lottery of who's healthy and opportunistic on a given week. And you tend to favor experienced quarterbacks, which is why people are talking about LSU. It's why people are talking about the overall system at Georgia, although I'm really not sold on that kid. I picked them to lose this weekend. So it's a mess. It's a gumbo. It's a very different world. You know. Also, by the way, don't count out Florida and Alabama from going in and beating what we're considering to be the top tier. So the playoff teams that I had, I was on a pod where they made me pick the playoff, which is a pain.
Mm-hmm. It's hard.
And the SEC teams I had were Texas, Alabama. That's the one I kind of regret now. Georgia as the 3. So Texas and Alabama and Atlanta. Texas wins. And then so Texas takes the overall 1. And then I had Alabama as the 2. And then not overall 2, just I'm saying from the SEC. And then in sort of the wild card, if you will, roles, I had Georgia and Texas A&M. But I also just really like Colin Klein's system as an offensive coordinator, and I think that they're going to get better. I think that's going to be a great game this weekend against Notre Dame. Probably low scoring. So everything I think is coming on really quietly for A&M. I really like the change that they made. It's probably the biggest
I like Marcel Reed, a
improvement.
former Ole Miss commitment. I think that
Yeah.
I mean for a league and just college football in general, star quarterback power.
Mm-hmm.
I can see Marcel Reed making a case for somewhere sometime.
Funny thing I'm going to leave you with, if Arkansas were to win this game, it may be one of the most expensive Arkansas games in history, and that's because the structure on Pittman's deal is that if he goes 4-8, his buyout is significantly cheaper than if he goes 5-7. And that
How
has
do
to
you
do
even negotiate that specific thing?
Well, like, he didn't negotiate that specific thing. We did an episode on the Yahoo show about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Funny,
it
dude.
has to do with he signed an extension in at the end of 21 or 22 or something. They threw out 20 because of the COVID year, because he inherited Chad Morris's roster, which sucked.
Sucks
The
so
worst
bad.
SEC roster. And so it was those two things where they're like, oh, let's throw out 20. From here on out, if you have a winning record, you automatically your deal rolls over. If your cumulative record is winning at Arkansas, your deal rolls over 1 year.
Okay, that makes sense.
So therefore, your buyout, which is a percentage of your overall compensation, would be higher or lower. So it's not prohibitive because we're talking about SEC teams with SEC money, but it's definitely something. I think boosters in Fayetteville are like, all right, are we going to come out? So it's really funny, and then I'll get out of here. If you're on the other side of this right now, this weekend, and you can feel free to use this if you're going to a tailgate and you want to screw with an Arkansas fan. Okay, you might take advantage of a 80% healthy quarterback for Ole Miss, and you might win the game. After that, how confident do you feel about Memphis, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Auburn in a row? You're not going to have – you aren't going to the playoff this year, guy. But if you're not going to go bowling this year, all right, then you are potentially just costing yourself money in the process if you're going to make the replacement. Do you feel like you can go out in the market and either make a strong case for the John Summerall sweepstakes? Because I think John Summerall will be in on Florida. So any SEC job that opens, they're going to go to John Summerall.
Right? I think he's moving this year.
Right. And then 2 is the real funny situation is if Auburn farts out like an 8-win season and they keep Dildo, then they will miss on the most Auburn head coach in history. John Summerall was made in a laboratory to be Pat Dye 2.0.
He went to Troy first. He was, Alabama.
He's a Kentuckian, but I am telling y'all, I do this for a living. I've been around John for several years. That guy should be Auburn's head coach, and
former Ole Miss assistant, dude. He's
really
the man.
good. Yeah. He would, and if Lane left, John Summerall would have. Actually, I should have led with this. If Lane leaves, I'll leave you with this. If Lane leaves, I don't think that this fan base should be, committing seppuku. I think that this fan base and the more importantly, the people who sign the checks and get together the dollars should wish Lane well as he goes to Florida. and then get in the John Summerall sweepstakes, because I do think if you are competing against Arkansas, I think you're the better job now. I think if you're competing,
Lane said you're the better job when he picked you over Arkansas. The first time around. I don't think Lane's going anywhere, but I agree with you.
If Lane were to go coach in the NFL or whatever, which I don't think is going to happen, I think Ole Miss could win the John Summerall sweepstakes on day one, because there's big questions long term about Arkansas. Thinks for sure they could get Summerall, and for sure they could get Lashley. And I think while Lashley would ultimately come, I think it would be with a lot of concessions. Lashley's in a really good situation at SMU.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to talk about native son. Sometimes your dream job isn't your dream job, or it shouldn't be your dream job. So I would be really curious there. I think if Ole Miss had to, they could get in the John Summerall sweepstakes and win on day one.
And I don't think they'll have to, because I think, just like you said, you don't know what, who would have thought that Lane and Ole Miss would be such a brilliant and just makes sense kind of pairing that it has been for 6 years. So,
well, all right, but what about this? I mean, what if this is technically,
but I don't think Pete Golding would get promoted before John Summerall, though. I think that Ole Miss would be in the John Summerall sweepstakes in that scenario.
I think you hire John Summerall over Pete Golding every day of the week. That's less a statement about Pete than it is about John. I think the more likely scenario is that Florida may not be in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes, because Ole Miss is probably going to be out of playoff contention this year in what looks to be a rebuilding phase. You're probably going to have hotter hands out there like Summerall or Alex Golish or Eli Drinkwitz is really, if you're talking about a sitting SEC coach that Florida has been associated with, it's Eli Drinkwitz. So I would maybe keep that in mind instead.
Steven Godfrey. Is it still at 38 Godfrey on Twitter?
It is. I will. Hey.
So there you go. Don't ever say.
For everything I said, I was on the Mullen Scholarship for a long time, and I will never not. I have a 38 tattooed on my leg. Yeah,
I'm saying
that doesn't change.
Hey, listen, you can always come home. It's an old wrestling adage. You can always come home.
I'm coming to whatever it is. I'm coming
home. You said it. Freudian slip, bitch. You said it. Come on home. Come on home. Washington State. Hey, Steven Godfrey at 38 Godfrey, Yahoo Sports, Washington Post. Are you going to do the whole Grove experience?
Yeah, I got to show the out of towners around.
Yeah, you got to do the whole thing. And
I got a Wazoo grad, and then a Florida grad, and a Tulane grad. And none of them have been to the Grove.
So it sounds like you need to put on the seersucker and do what you got to do.
Yeah, because I own seersucker.
Yeah, of course, and me too. I mean, look at me.
I know. Look, you and I know people who own seersucker. That's our job, is to know them. It's not to wear the seersucker.
Yes. Thank you, Steven Godfrey. It was fun catching up, man. I've missed hanging out and talking to you, and you've always been a good friend to me. You're doing great work. I love you, buddy, and I appreciate you. And we'll talk again.
Go Braves.